There he goes, fixing to hook up. I'm going to say the average farmer around here probably unhooks and hooks up to his header. Some of them a couple dozen times. And they'll alternate from the corn header to the bean header. See how easy that was? Pulled right up. I'm sure there's 2 or 3 other things he has to do before actually engaging it and putting it in gear. Talking on that phone, walking, ain't he? Figure it's probably $500,000 right there. $500,000 right at it. Brand new. Nothing like they had back whenever I was farming. Dad and I and the boys, my brothers, we had Massey Ferguson combines, Alice Chandler's, yeah, he's doing something. I could probably Google it real quick and find out exactly how much that piece of equipment runs. What is that, a S680 John Deere? Probably combine. In good conditions. 300 acres a day by itself. Yeah, he's having to put stuff on it. That looked like some sort of a skidder plate. I'm very, very unfamiliar with this type of equipment, this modern day equipment today. It's supposed to have all kinds of electronic GPS sensors. It's supposed to have all kinds of whistles and bells. Some of the stuff they claim that you can actually preset it and drive it sitting at your house. Eventually, that's what they plan on doing. I think the combine or the equipment now actually operates itself, computerized. I guess the worst thing that I can remember combining would be Milo back years ago, because we didn't have cabs. God, that stuff would tear you up. It'd eat you alive. Now, depending upon the wind, which I think I may get lucky today, and the wind is blowing away from me. But sometimes I actually have to go in and cut my air conditioning unit off of living out here in the country. Because if you don't, by the time they get through, if your air conditioning unit isn't stopped up before they start, it will be by the time they end if the wind's blowing the wrong way. Because I guarantee you they will throw debris from here to Timbuktu. And it looks like I'm going to get lucky today for right now towards the suck and the debris blowing in the southern direction. rather than it going up here on top of me. Also do the same thing. I watch them closely out here in the country. Whenever they're spraying, if the wind's drifting over towards me in my direction, I leave. I'll get plumb out of the neighborhood. I'll go 20, 25 miles away, getting away from their dope, getting away from that poison. I don't want that stuff blowing on top of me and me having to breathe it and inhale it and it getting all over my skin and causing ain't no telling what kind of problems long term down the road. Now here comes another one here. That's basically just a hopper, just a bin. They do this, that way they can keep the combine moving, because they bring 18-wheeler trailers out here and they keep the trailer ordinarily in a safe place, usually by the road, and that thing right there can go anywhere that the combine can go. And of course over here to my right is Mr. Melvin Hill's field. That's a bunch of beans. And usually that's what he plants every year, is beans. This is the insanity corner. And it used to not be that way. It used to be almost an Oler that lived over there, that was some of the finest Christian people in the neighborhood that would actually be willing to do anything in the world for you. Matter of fact, in 1983, whenever that car rode over on top of me, Almus and Oler was still living over there in a house, small little shotgun shanty house, and within about a week and a half, no more than 2 weeks after God had spared my life, between God and the medical industry had saved my life, after me being visited on 2 different occasions back to back by the demonic spirit Lucifer, coming and trying to finish me off in a spiritual form, not working through a physical form, but in a spiritual form. I got up about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, and didn't let Dad or Mom or my younger brother know what was going on. And I contacted both of these individuals. I contacted Mr. Elmas and I contacted J.M. Willis to come down there and to pray for me, that I needed prayer. I needed strength, because I was being bombarded by paranormal activity towards Lucifer, the actual Antichrist spirit that was trying to finish me off. And it did relieve towards the actual satanic paranormal attacks upon my life, but then Satan re-entered back into my father, and the next thing you know, my father got real aggressive, almost causing my mother to fall off into a nervous breakdown. And it got so bad within about 30 days that he basically physically attacked me towards trying to finish me off. And that's whenever the following next day I walked all the way to Kenton, Tennessee, down this very road right here, and went to the White House and made a telephone call to the White House that I was going to be the one to stand in front of the Antichrist, and before the poison arrow struck the flesh of my skin, that I was going to vanish or disappear. But that's whenever Gabriel was going to blow the trumpet, and that's whenever the rapture or the second coming of Christ was going to occur. I walked down to Kenton, Tennessee, and expressed the same thing to a Don Curry, And before that evening's end, I was involved in a group meeting with the mayor of Kenton, Tennessee, Damian Cross, 2 or 3 other officials. My father and mother was there, as well as Paul Hughes, that had a patch over his eye because he had been messed up, I think, in the Vietnam War. And from then on, it's history pertaining to what they done to me. They basically branded me, condemned me, said that I was out of touch with reality, and said that you're going to go to Bolivar, and if you don't go voluntarily, we will force you to go involuntarily, and basically patted my father on the back and told him what kind of good job that he had done towards trying to finish me off. And I thought to myself, what kind of law enforcement society has Northwest Tennessee become? So whenever I get to talking about the actual conspiracy, the spiritual conspiracy that began, I know exactly the facts. And I think Lenore Willis, that's still living up the road here, would tell you that I contacted her husband about 2 o'clock at night, and her and Almas come across the road and prayed for me because I was at the point of fixing to be annihilated, consumed by this cruel, indifferent, cold, demonic spirit that approached me at first as a beautiful, beautiful woman, and just about the time this beautiful woman was getting right in my face, fixing to give me a kiss, that's whenever the true form of what was coming at me transfigurated itself towards its true identity and basically attacked me towards trying to take my breath, towards trying to finish me off. And this occurrence didn't just happen once, it happened twice back to back. And whenever it happened the second time in such of a authentic, real way, that's whenever I got on the telephone and called these individuals. I just wanted to share that story with my viewers and let them know that I have been on this piece of property right here, back and forth, in and out, since 1967. That's about 50 years that I have been in touch with this community, if you want to call it a community. I still call it a territory. Now he's unloading what grain that he has, or what grain that he just combined. He's putting that into the hopper. And it looks like he's emptied up. And now he's moving to go at it again. They have waited until long about 9:30, 10 o'clock is whenever they actually get out into the fields to give the due time to get off of the hulls, because if they get out there too early, it can affect their moisture level, and they'll take a big dock while they're going to the granary. And granted, usually they get on up around 5:30, 6 o'clock and get out, get stern along about 7:30. And they grease stuff down and check things over. They got to fill up with fuel. They got to check this and check that. So it's an ongoing process that usually whenever they go to harvesting like they are right now, some of their days can be 15, 16, 18 hours long, depending upon the weather and depending upon the circumstances. So the farming community has really taken on a big improvement in about 40 years since we was farming approximately 500 acres with a bunch of Alice Chandlers and a bunch of Massey Ferguson old worn out equipment, that now one combine can do what 3 combines back then could do, and do it 3 times as fast and cover 3 times the amount of coverage. A lot of memories in this area. Some are good, some are not so good. But it's still part of my life. It's still part of who I am. Thanks for listening. There's James Henry. James Henry, come here, James Henry. James Henry. I still ain't replaced none of my none of my stuff that got vandalized. Come here, James Henry. Meow. James Henry shouldn't have no fleas because I put a flea collar on him. James Henry, what are you doing? Meow. That's James Henry. I got him off of Melvin Hill's daughter. The shield of David. The brokenness of man. The broken cross. I'll never forget the works that my younger brother David Jeffrey Jackson took a part of in helping me put up this cross, helping me put up that sign, helping me put up that heart on that pole, helping me with that right there, that purple heart implanted into the landscape. I'll never forget David helping me build this building. Though there at the last, within about a week before he actually died, he was getting weak to the point that I had some wiring problems with one of my cameras out here, security cameras. I think you can see the wires right there dangling. Anyways, inside, David went up the one ladder and I got up into the attic, the loft, and whenever David got up to the top, he was so out of breath. I looked at him, I said, David, if I'd have come back here a year and a half later, before I did in 2014, I said, you never would have been able to have helped me build this thing, would have you? He looked at me, he said, no, Juby, I probably wouldn't have. At that point in time, I realized that David's health was deteriorating. At that point in time, I think David realized that his health was deteriorating. I just didn't know how badly, and neither nor did he know how bad that his health was deteriorating. Within about a week, I went down to his residency, and I walked in on him and he was dead. He was deceased. Probably after he left work, got home, give or take approximately around 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to say within an hour or two is whenever he had his final attack And that's whenever he didn't have enough strength to recover from whatever was going on with him. And because of it, David died at the age of 51, which is very sad. Very, very sad.